Stream Economy. I'm Ashley Esqueda, and your time is money, which is why I look at the news across movies, TV, and games and tell you where to put your fan investments. This week, we're kicking things off with something a lot of people are invested in, and that, my friends, is Star Wars. Collider dropped a huge bomb this week with an exclusive report saying the A Star Wars Story spin-offs were being put on hold at Lucasfilm. Sources also say that Obi-Wan movie we'd been hearing about was in development, but now that team is no longer involved, so that's not good. On top of that, there was that rumor that James Mangold, the guy who co-wrote and directed Logan, was going to do a Boba Fett movie. That's probably also being put on ice because of a little movie called Solo. So we have to talk about Solo for a second. It, as of today or a few days ago, hasn't even crossed the $200 million mark domestically at the box office, and making the movie cost in the neighborhood of $250 million. Now, mind you, that $250 million is not including a marketing budget. So we're probably talking maybe $500 million that they're probably not going to make back. So I guess it makes sense if Kathleen Kennedy wants to maybe put these standalone movies on hold for a little while they regroup. Now, Lucasfilm is going to be focusing its efforts on Episode 9, and on top of that, Rian Johnson is still making his Star Wars trilogy, and also Game of Thrones showrunners D.B. Weiss and David Benioff are also doing a series of Star Wars movies. So those are okay, but all those standalone movies for right now are not happening. So I think we need to do a quick fire as to whether to buy or sell. So in the way of buying, I think we can buy both of those movie series from Benioff and Weiss and Rian Johnson because they're geniuses. Guys, they make good stuff. We should totally buy that. I'm going to go ahead and say cautious optimism on an Obi-Wan movie that could be good if they refocus and do some introspection. And then I'm going to say we just need to sell off that terrible Boba Fett movie idea to a Sarlacc pit, because at the end of the day, guys, Boba Fett sucks. Don't at me. But what you can at me about is whether or not you think Lucasfilm is making the right decision here. So tell me in the comments. Now, we're kind of losing a lot of spin-offs on the Star Wars side, but guess what we're getting? Lots of Star Trek! You get a Star Trek! You get a Star Trek! Everybody gets a Star Trek! CBS Television Studios has officially signed Star Trek Discovery executive producer Alex Kurtzman to a 5-year deal that will bring even more Star Trek to your screens. Sources say there are a few different concepts on the table, including a Starfleet Academy show from the people who brought you Gossip Girl. There is an idea that could bring back Jean-Luc Picard, like a little mini-series action, maybe. On top of that, we've got a potential series involving infamous Trek villain Khan, no word on which one, Montalban or Cumberbatch, I don't know. And on top of that, even an animated series. But at the end of the day, CBS isn't talking, and they could scrap any of those concepts during development. Now, disclosure, CBS is the parent company of CNET, and they could have totally sent me an email and told me all their secrets, but they didn't. So now I just have to say that my dream show, that I don't know anything about, is a prequel set in Starfleet Academy starring none other than Jean-Luc Picard. With hair. That's the only way. It's the only way. He looks so good, you guys. Looks amazing. Now, obviously, CBS is expanding the Trek universe because Star Trek Discovery is doing so well. And if you haven't seen Star Trek Discovery, I highly recommend it. It's a buy. It's really, really fun. I am enjoying watching it, and I know it's another pay-to-stream service, but if it's something you're interested in, you should check it out. So now we go from the vast outreaches of space to the shores of Azeroth, because it's time to talk about Vanilla WoW. Blizzard officially announced which patch would be the foundation for World of Warcraft Classic. Now, that's a pre-expansion version of the game. They also detailed a lot of challenges the dev team faces as they restore it. In a blog post, Blizzard discussed the basis of how they chose which patch would be the core of WoW Classic, and they fell upon patch 1.12. Now, that is Drums of War and marks the last major content patch before the Burning Crusade content started launching in late 2006. So about 2 years worth of game content and the culmination of that. So we all just go to Baron's chat, right? Port it over. Let's launch it tomorrow. Not so fast. The dev team also talked about having to update and change a lot of code for different systems. They also have to make sure that it's compatible with things like Battle.net, which wasn't around when the game originally launched updated graphics card compatibility, and of course, security and anti-botting measures. It's a lot of really important stuff. So it's gonna be a minute before World of Warcraft Classic is ready to go, but at the end of the day, I think if you've been asking for this for a really long time, you are in a good place, and I think that you're gonna get even more than what Blizzard originally promised you or what maybe you had been asking for. So it's a buy if you've been asking for it. Fair. But if you haven't been asking for it, I'm gonna say maybe start off with the game in its current form because it's a better starting off spot. Now, I used to raid in Wrath of the Lich King. I think this is a really cool idea, but at the end of the day, how many times can you raid Nax 40 before you get bored, guys? How many times? I don't know. Speaking of the supernatural and strange goings-on, I'm really worried about Mark Serrels. He hasn't been sleeping a lot, and he keeps making a weird clicking noise with his mouth. I don't know, you guys, you check in on him.
Hey, Hereditary? Have you seen this movie? Have you seen it? Oh, jeez. I went to the cinema by myself because my kids and my wife were out somewhere else, so I had the house to myself. So I was like, oh, I'll go and see a wee movie. So then I went down to the cinema and I saw the movie. And then when I went home, I was bringing it. I was myself everywhere, man. I couldn't handle it. It was too scary. The house was empty. My house was empty and I had every light on in the house. And then when I went to sleep, I couldn't sleep because I was so scared and I kept looking at the window and I saw my reflection. And I thought it was my gran. My dead gran. I'm sorry, gran. Gran, I'm sorry. And then I tried to turn the lights off to go to sleep. Then every time I looked at the chair, there was a wee shadow or a wee bit of clay hanging there. I thought it was a human being coming to eat me alive. Oh, this has been happening for a week now. I can't even deal with it. I can't even take a shit with it. Bloody, I take a shit and I shit myself. What the hell? I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Go and see Hereditary. It's so good, but oh, jeez, that's Christ, man. It's so scary. Oh, best movie ever. Good stuff.
When you hear the words 40X movie, you also might think of the words theme park ride, but it's a little more complicated than that. And that's why we're here at 40X Labs in Hollywood, California, to learn a little bit more about the technology behind 40X experiences and how each movie is designed. Where's my popcorn?
Backing that up right now.
I think viewers who watch a 40X film probably have some kind of an idea of how the movie is converted into 40X. They might think it's a simple process, but to tell you the truth, it's a very complicated method. We come in the last stage of the production, right? So there's post-production, and then there's us. And that could sometimes be like a couple weeks before the premiere. So we really have to figure out how we're gonna approach the situation without just blindly putting in for everything that we feel or hear, because it becomes an overwhelming sensation.
Our key intention here is not to interrupt, not to go too much. So we stay low and we stay calm, and to make your movie watching experience more immersive, so you end up feeling like you're living the experiences in the auditorium.
These creatures were here before us. And if we're not careful, they're gonna be here after.
When something is designed perfectly and it feels right, it's so satisfactory.
40X isn't for everybody, that's for sure. Some people find the experience to be a little bit too overwhelming. But if you're looking to add a little dash of adventure to your movie-going experiences, 40X might be just the thing. I like to think of 40X as sort of a secondary viewing experience. So see the movie you want to see the first time the way you want to see it, and then the second time you can consider adding a 40X ticket for an extra level of fun. I can't wait to see Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. It is going to be so exciting in 40X, and thank you again to the team at 40X Labs for allowing us to come over and check out what they do on a daily basis. And we have some housekeeping for future episodes. Next week, we will not have a full episode. Instead, we are going to air a really fun interview with Rebecca Johnson and Kimmy Gatewood, who are actresses on the Netflix series Glow. They're coming over to talk about season 2 and also what their characters Dawn and Stacy are up to with a really fun sort of newlywed game, and I think you'll really enjoy that. We will also be off on 4th of July week, so If you are around and you don't know where the show is, I'm sorry. We'll be right back. I promise you this, second week of July, we're coming back. Now, that is it for the show. Thank you so much. Hit us up on Twitter. Use the hashtag StreamEconomy. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on Star Trek, Star Wars, and WoW Classic. It's going to be so exciting. Get down in those comments. Go nuts for donuts. I do read all of them. Well, that's it for the show, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time. But until then, be good streamers. Bye.